Welcome to Saint Alphonsus Wellcast, the podcast where we explore the many facets of health and well-being. This podcast is brought to you by Saint Alphonsus Corporate Health and Wellbeing and a generous grant from the Saint Alphonsus Foundation. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to our Saint Alphonsus Wellcast. My name is Amy James. I'm a registered dietitian, and today we have the always lovely Candy Zapia.
Thank you. Hello.
And then our special guest today is someone new. Her name is Mikkel McBride, and she is the Community Development Officer over at the Idaho Central Credit Union. And today we're talking about something a little different, something that we haven't touched yet on the pod. We're going to talk about the 4 laws of financial prosperity. So I'm going to let Mikkel introduce herself and give her a little bit of a background. So go for it, Mikkel.
Yes, thanks for having me. So I am Mikkel McBride, like you said, and I have worked for Idaho Central Credit Union for 10 years now, 5 of them in Boise, and it has been so amazing. I get to go out into the community and do special events and outreach with community members, and I also get to teach financial education, which might sound boring to some, but it's actually pretty fun, and I actually enjoy it. It's something I'm passionate about. So I love doing that. And I also like getting out into the community. I'm on the board for the Foundation for Idaho History.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah.
Very cool.
What's that like?
That is, you might think it sounds boring because you're like, oh, history, boring. But it's actually pretty cool. Getting to help preserve some of our history in our state. It's actually pretty cool getting to...
Did you get hooked up with that through ICCU, or is that just something that you volunteer for?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
That's really cool.
That's how they met me, was through Idaho Central, and found out that I was very passionate. My passion started at the Idaho State Museum. I don't know if you guys have ever been there.
Absolutely.
No, I haven't.
It is actually
Where is it?
It's
so
great.
cool.
It's in downtown Boise.
What?
Yeah,
How
right
have I
by
never been
BAM.
here?
Right by
Okay.
BAM.
I'm
The
going
Boise
this
Arts
weekend.
Museum, for
Got it.
those that don't know.
It's not like your typical museum where you're just reading like placards on the wall. You're like...
No, it's interactive. And the last time that I went to visit, we visited with a friend, and they had the old school game, the Oregon Trail. Like they had a
I remember
computer
that.
up with that on there. That was
Yeah.
just so nostalgic and everything. But it's very interactive, very cool information in there. So, yeah, check it out, people.
So that was
Cool.
kind of from my passion there, like...
Got it. Okay.
So I'm on that foundation, and
Very cool.
I get to coach softball in my spare time
Lovely.
for Mountain View High School, so that's also fun.
And you were just telling us that you just bought a dog last night.
Last night,
Spotlight
yes,
Winston.
yes, Winston. Shout out to Winston, my new golden doodle puppy. That's so adorable because it's day one. That's
Yes.
why he's
Right.
still adorable.
Yes.
So day one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so it's no surprise, a lot of people are kind of feeling the burden of the times, I guess is the way that I'll say it. And I think a lot of people are looking for more resources to become more financially prepared, financially well. And so we were really excited to bring you on today because it's something that from our listeners, it seems like there's a need. And so give us a little bit. Today we're talking about the 4 laws of financial prosperity, which, as I understand, is a book. So why don't you give us a little bit of background on that?
Yes, I know that talking about finances can be uncomfortable for people sometimes, but it doesn't really have to be. The 4 Laws of Financial Prosperity is based on a book by Blaine Harris and Charles Coonrat, and it's actually a really good book. We actually give one of these books to each one of our team members when they start at the credit union.
Oh, wow.
Oh, smart.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Can you give one to me?
Absolutely. I will
You
definitely
have to
give
buy
you
it,
one.
Amy.
I want one.
I will get you one. It's a really great book, and it goes over the 4 laws to help you prosper. So it kind of talks about how it's not about how much money you make. You don't have to make tons of money to prosper in your financial world or whatever. But it's just about how you spend your money that makes the difference. So it kind of walks you through all of those things. So it's a really cool book.
Got it. Okay. Well, with that, I think, I'm definitely eager. I'm a dietitian, so I can talk to you guys about nutrition and wellness, but financial wellness is something that I'm always trying to learn a little bit more about. So let's just get right into it. Law 1, track. Break that down for us.
This one, tracking is it's one of those ones that really makes you open your eyes a little bit.
Yeah.
Right.
Tracking is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You track every single purchase you make, whether it's with cash or with a check or with a debit card. Any transaction you make, you're tracking that. And tracking looks different for everybody. Some people love to create a spreadsheet and track it in their spreadsheet. Some people like to use an app. I know with Idaho Central Credit Union on our online banking, you can categorize your spending and things like that. So however that may be to you, if you're writing them down each time you make them, however that looks like, you want to track that so that you can see where that money's going. And I have kind of an interesting story about tracking.
Okay.
My sister was feeling very frustrated with her finances and was just like, I don't know where all of our money goes. And so I was like, go ahead and track that. Go ahead and track your spending.
Right.
Track that, okay? So she started tracking her finances, and she discovered, which she should have known, but like I said, tracking really opens your eyes, that she was taking her boys to Maverick every day, and they were spending about $10 on like snacks and sodas and just whatever. And sorry, no disrespect to Maverick, but a convenience store usually costs a little bit more money, you know?
It's a money suck.
Yeah. So if you're going to have those treats and those snacks and stuff, it might be better to go to a store where you can get them for cheaper. But she was spending $10 a day. That's $300 a month, just like that. That's just in one instance, not to mention eating out and all of those things. So she started discovering where that money was going. And so from there, she was able to then, go through some of these other laws and help her cut some of those things out.
Yeah. I'm two comments here. One, well, actually two comments and then kind of like a question. One, I know, so shout out to my older sister who's like a budgeting guru. And I think for most people, when you hear the word track, budgeting might also come into mind. Like, essentially the first step of budgeting is like seeing where your money's going, right? And so I budgeted and I realized I was spending like $80 on coffee a month. I was like, what the heck? And you guys, the worst part about this is that I have an espresso machine.
So you were going above and beyond.
So, and now, I make the extra effort to wake up and make myself coffee instead of let myself be in a hurry. But, that's just another issue that I've tackled with the help of tracking. So I agree. Okay, a couple of questions. Is there like a preferred, you said that, people do this a lot of different ways. Is there a preferred method? Because, some people, not a lot of people anymore, carry cash. Some people pull out, like I know my downstairs neighbor, when I first moved back to Boise, pulled out $300 every month, and that was his food budget. And it was like when the cash ran out, no more food. And so I guess that's kind of a way of tracking. But and then I go back to, I'm kind of firing a lot at you right now.
Bring it.
I kind of go back to, I was a bartender for years and years and years in college, and I always had cash on me, and I didn't track that at all. Like it came and it went, and it was like, out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And so is there like a preferred way that you track? Do you recommend not even interacting with cash, or what's that looking like? What's your opinion?
Yeah. So my opinion is that everyone is different.
Yeah.
I know that's like kind of a weak answer, it seems,
No.
but everyone is different. Some people do well with having cash that's right there that they can have and see that it's like leaving and it's going and they're out of cash, and then they're like, okay, I can't spend it anymore. Some people have different checking accounts in under their membership, and they're like, okay, this is for groceries, this account is just for groceries, this is just for utilities, this is fun money. So some people like to do that.
So people have like 4 debit cards
Or more.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. That's a lot to monitor.
I'm not really against that, but I would absolutely like get flustered at the counter and be like, oh, just take this one.
Yeah. Which card is it?
Yeah. And we have a couple of different cards, like for secondary accounts and things like that, which makes it easy. But when you get, down there, a lot of people are taking a Sharpie and writing groceries, utilities, things like that. So it kind of just depends. Some people can see that. Like I said, you can go into Idaho Central's online banking and you can categorize your spending.
Yes.
And so you're kind of seeing where that's going and kind of keeping track of it that way. And so
Yeah.
that's a nice thing. I know a lot of people will use the Mint app.
Yes.
That's very popular.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, it just depends. I am like an old school spreadsheet gal.
Same here.
Just super old school, but that's what works for me, and that's, you know, what resonates with me. And so, you know, what works for me might not work for somebody else, but that's why I kind of say, like, maybe try all of these things and see which one, you know,
Right.
works for you.
And do you recommend tracking constantly, or like just to at least, you know, get going? Let's get a basic understanding of how we're spending money. So let's, for 1 month, for 2 months, let's really get in here and track every single thing, so that way we can then, you know, make some decisions. You can see things, and then maybe do a little bit better moving forward. I think continuing to track is really great, and I also utilize that Mint app, and so it categorizes what I spend on my debit card automatically. Like, oh, this was clothing, this was, you know, whatever, which is really nice. So you can see those categories. But like when I was really trying to see what do I spend on, I didn't want to just see my groceries. I wanted to see, like, what groceries am I spending? Like, am I spending a lot on? And am I combining groceries? Like, if I buy something at Walmart, well, you can buy anything at Walmart. So
Yep.
how do I break down what it is that I'm actually spending on? Is it household stuff? Is it decor? Is it beauty products? Or is it food? Like that type of, you know, breakdown, which requires a little bit more work, but is really valuable to see, you know, moving forward and making those decisions.
Yeah, it is a lot of work at first, and I recommend at least doing a month. At
Okay.
least.
Yeah.
1 to 3 months would be ideal to just kind of get a feel for how you are spending your money, so that you can really see, okay, this is how this is going. So, you know, doing that 1 to 3 months, so you at least have that baseline, and then revisiting it in the future.
Right.
You know, like taking a look again. I mean, things change over time, so always revisiting it, but at least having that established line that you can look and say, okay, here's where my problem is. Here's where my leaky faucet is. This
Yes.
this needs to be fixed.
Love
Leaky coffee faucet. Okay, awesome. So step 1, tracking. Okay, law number 2, targeting.
Targeting. So targeting is like goal setting.
Okay.
Okay. So I feel like when you're doing the targeting section, it's important to figure out what's important to you, right?
Right.
Like, is your family the most important to you? Is a vacation most important to you? Is eating out more important to you? You really want to establish the things that are important to you and your family. And I recommend that you do this together as a family, whether it's you and your spouse, or you and your spouse and your children. And I know it seems weird to be like, why would I bring my children in on this?
They're going to be like, toys.
Yeah, they don't need to be in on the nitty gritty, of course, but
Right.
like sharing these things with them is a really good start for
Yeah.
their future and learning this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it also helps buy them into stuff. So like if you're saying like, okay, what's something really important? Maybe the family wants to take a trip to Disneyland. So you're like, okay, this is our goal. This is what we're saving for. We're going to save this amount of money every month. Then when the kids come up and they say, oh, I really want this Xbox. And you can say, okay, is that Xbox, you know, worth putting off Disneyland? You know, you can relate
Right,
it to
sure,
that.
right.
Like, does that make sense to buy an Xbox and really put off our goal of this?
It's going to take longer.
Yeah,
to
so
get
it
there.
helps them buy into that process. And like when they're making those decisions, like, oh, I need new shoes. Does that make sense? Yeah, maybe that makes
Right.
sense.
Sure.
Maybe you just want another pair of shoes just to have another pair of shoes. Maybe that doesn't make sense. But
Right.
it kind of helps buy them in. And so when you have those goals and you have specific goals that are written down, that are specific, that are positive goals, those will
Yes.
be things that you can kind of use to measure, you know, and be successful. So
Got it.
Love it.
I like that tip about writing down. When I put pen to paper, for whatever reason, it like sticks in my mind that much stickier. All right, great. Okay, so moving on. Law 3, trimming. So what exactly is trimming? This one makes me sad.
you know,
Because you know what it is.
I do know what it is.
it doesn't have to be sad.
Okay.
But yes, like I said, you want to find those things that are important to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so once you establish that, maybe your daily coffee is really, really important to you and you'd rather have that than go on a vacation. And if that's the case, then you found what's important to you and that's what you want. But most people feel like, oh, yeah, I could use my lovely espresso machine at home and still...
Shame on me.
Yes. So basically the law of trimming really is about living on less than you earn so that you can have a surplus to reach your goals. So, cutting out those things that maybe don't make sense or that are unnecessary. Obviously, we want to treat ourselves and have some of those things, but just being more aware and, having our goals in mind when we go to make these trims. So talking more about paying yourself first.
Yeah, I like that.
And we've all kind of heard that, like, it's important to maybe set up an automatic deposit right when your paycheck hits so that your money is going into your savings account and it's never an option to spend it.
Yes.
Set it and forget it. Someone told me that when we were talking about investing, and I was like, that's it. It's just, I can't even see it.
I'm pretty sure that's an
goes away.
infomercial slogan.
Is it?
Yeah.
If not, it should be.
Maybe that's where I got it. It's something I always remember.
I'm going to have to Google it after this, though.
Okay, so I'm not so sad about trimming now. I'm going to spend money on myself first. Is that what you
Right.
said?
You're taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you're putting yourself first before all of those other things. You're saying, okay, this is important to me. It's important to have a savings account for, number one, emergencies, and also, number two, those goals that you're saving up for.
Absolutely.
We've all got something.
Yeah. And, I think something that we'll talk about at the end, too. I think a lot of people, really for me, Law 1, the tracking is, like, key here, right? Because I think so many people fit into this category of, like, I don't know where my money is going, but I don't have enough, so I'm not even going to track it. I'm not going to spend it because I'm not paid enough and I don't make enough and blah, 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 blah. But once you see where those leaky faucets are, then you realize, wow, I have so much more potential. I have so much more money than I think. And it's really nice. And then even to have the ability to be like, oh, I can trim down here. Like, I can save here is actually really freeing.
Yes. Yeah. So another part of trimming, too, is the debt rollover or snowball. Okay, so this is a good tool to use to help you get there and to help make it easier so you're spending your money wisely.
Okay.
So the exercise is to write down all of your debts, kind of in like a little spreadsheet. Think of a spreadsheet. So you're writing all your debts and you're writing down all of the balances remaining on those debts.
Okay.
Then you also want to write how much your monthly payment is for each of those, and the interest you are being charged on each thing. So if you have, some credit cards and things like that, you want to mark what that interest is. And then you can also take it a step further and mark the number of payments until that balance is paid off, okay? So first you want to do that. Then you want to take that, and some people, there are two different ways to do this. So you can take it and go with the the highest percentage of interest that you're paying and pay that one off first, okay? Or you can do the smallest balance. Hopefully they're one and the same.
Yeah.
But you want to take that higher interest rate and pay that off first. So once you pay that higher interest rate balance off first, then you would take that balance that you had just paid off that you'd been paying every month. So say you were paying $100 every month to that. You would now take that and you would apply it to the next in line, the next highest interest balance. So then your payment that you were making to the other one that was $200 is now $300 because you're adding that $100 in, and you're doing that down the line until you pay your debt off. And that will make you pay your debts off so much quicker. It will cut it down so quick. I know it's easy, like when we pay off our car or when we pay off our credit card or anything, and we're like, I have all this free money now that I can do so many things. But
apply it elsewhere.
Yeah, it's so important to apply it to that debt so that you can knock that down first.
Yeah.
And then you're in such a good spot once you pay all of those down.
Oh my gosh.
Think about the financial freedom you have at that point.
Absolutely. And just getting and seeing progress can be so motivating to keep you going.
Yeah.
You know, it's like overwhelming when you don't see anything and you have all these bills and you're just, you know, constantly just paying things off and, you know, wondering where your money's going. But then once you've really organized and looked at it and seen, you know, what your interest rates, what you're paying, and then you get that high off of paying something off, like, it's like, okay, I can do this. I can keep going. I can keep moving. So I think it's a great motivator.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It is always a good feeling when you pay off a debt and you're like,
Yeah.
on top of the world.
I'll never forget paying off my car. I think I
Yeah.
hugged my car and was like, "We're free.
We're free. I own you. You're
Yeah.
mine.
You are 100% mine."
Oh, man.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I think, you know, speaking from experience, when you pay something off and then you have this feeling of like, oh, I have free money, you know, but it's still like, you know, between us and all of our listeners, I could have applied that to my student loan, and probably for a good while I did not. But then you start spending money that you don't have, and it can get really out of control. That's what I've realized with my mistakes as a young person with money, is that the less you pay attention,
Right.
the steeper that hill is. That is just not good. Okay. Okay, so moving on to the last law. So law 4, training. What exactly is this?
Well, this is where training comes into play at this point, right? You kind of get in that comfort zone and you're kind of forgetting and you're getting a little looser with spending your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is where like the discipline comes in. So this is where you want to, I say, revisit your finances every quarter. Like look at your budget and see what your budget is. I mean, things come up. We get raises at work, right?
Yeah.
Like what are we going to do with
Yep.
those raises?
Right.
Are we going to blow those on something, or are we going to put that towards, you know, debts, or, you know, what are we going to do with that? Like it's about being disciplined in those things, doing some extra financial education to learn about this stuff. Things like that you guys are offering to Saint Alphonsus team members. Hey, we have this financial education for you that you can attend and better yourself financially so that you have less stress in your life.
Right.
So I think it's absolutely amazing when a company offers things like that.
Yeah.
Doing financial reviews. Most people don't know this, and a lot of financial institutions do them. I know ours are completely free. So we have, for people that don't know, we do have our branch that's in the 999 building on the 5th floor.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can come in anytime, even if you're not a member. You can come in and talk to us about your finances, and we can help you. If you need help learning how to balance a checkbook or categorize your spending or any of those things, you can come see us, and we'll take that time to sit with you and work through that with you. We'll take a look and say, okay, hey, you have a credit card balance here and you're paying 25% interest on that. That's really high. You know, we can get you down to 13 or, you know, something like that. So kind of looking at those things and seeing where we can save you money is a big deal. So going and doing those things. And then, like I said, the quarterly budget check-ins and saying, okay, has our budget changed? What are we doing well? What do we need to tighten up on?
Right.
Got it.
Some of those things.
So this is where the Rocky music comes on.
Yeah.
And you get pumped and motivated. Get back in there and check in with your money. And I think that's great. It's training. Like
Yeah.
you're training for something.
It's keeping us consistent
Yes.
and accountable.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so a question or two before we let you go, Mikkel. What would you say is, I feel like, you know, okay, I've been pretty transparent this time around. You know, I have a master's degree, which means I definitely have student loan debt.
Yeah.
You know, I've paid off a car, I've paid off debt. I've been in that position of feeling like I am never going to get out of this. And I know that so many people are feeling this way. You know, not just our colleagues, but the people who are listening that are a part of our community or just a part of the world right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's just like a good first step? Is it coming into ICCU and saying, I need help? Or is it, you know, what's the simplest thing that they can do? How do we make it easier for them to kind of process how to get started?
Yeah, it could be. I think the first step is taking a look at your finances.
Mm-hmm.
You know, actually sitting down with your significant other, if you shared those finances, and taking a look at them. Like really, you know, making yourself vulnerable and willing to make those changes. I think that's really important. And yeah, coming in and talking to us and helping us, or having us help you make a plan, and to kind of get an idea of where you're at with things. it might be checking your credit report, right? Taking a look at that and seeing what's showing on there. People might not know that you can pull your credit report one time a year for free if you go to annualcreditreport.com. So you can take a look at that. And that's really beneficial to see, you know, what's showing up on there. But doing things like that and coming in and talking to us, you know, you don't have to go in and like purchase something or like sign up for a credit card if you come in. We'll sit down and talk to you, and you want to find a place that will do something like that for you. We do it all the time for people. We'll sit down and say, hey, you could save money here, or hey, you're in a really good spot. You know, you can stick with that. That's really good. So I love that about Idaho Central. We'll be honest with you. Like we don't want to make you pay more money if we're not going to help you in that spot.
Right.
We'll only help you in the spots that you need it.
I love that.
Very cool.
I love that.
Very tender.
All right. Yes. Okay. Candy, do you have any other questions or?
No, I think you really answered a lot of them. I think that these are some great steps. And, you know, I guess for our listeners, if they want to, they can always re-listen to this podcast.
Oh, yes.
But they could also go and check out maybe at the library to save some money. This 4 Laws of Financial Prosperity.
Look at you.
yes, the
Oh
book.
my gosh, Candy, I love it. She's so smart.
And again, the authors are Blaine Harris and Charles Coonradt, and that's COONRADT. Okay. So any final thoughts, Mikkel?
Final thoughts are just, I know that finances can be overwhelming and scary, but you don't have to do it alone. We'll help you. Obviously, we're experts in that field, so we will help you. You know, if there's something you don't understand, don't be afraid to ask. I know sometimes people feel, you know, silly or, you know, like they shouldn't ask, like, what's a credit score? Well, guess what? Those are very complex things that are really hard to understand. And since we do understand those, we'd love to help you learn what that's about. And so don't be afraid to come and ask for help. We're here for you. And remember that you work for a great place that's helping you with your wellness all around. And I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. I think you work for a great place too, Mikkel.
Well, I do too. I feel very grateful to work for the place I work.
Good. I'm glad. Well, we are so lucky to have you. So if you are a Saint Alphonsus colleague and you're interested in learning more, we are doing a webinar Lunch and Learn series on the 4 Laws of Financial Prosperity. The exact date is escaping me right now, but we'll go ahead and put it in the show notes so that you guys know. And then in September, we'll be back for how to financial planning for like emergency preparedness, essentially. And so if you're interested in that, you can sign up on our Live Your Whole Life Event Smart page. And to those who are just in the community listening, thank you, and we will chat with you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Saint Alphonsus Wellcast, brought to you by Saint Alphonsus Corporate Health and Wellbeing and the Saint Alphonsus Foundation. Always be sure to catch new episodes by subscribing to us through all major podcast platforms, including Apple, Google, and Spotify. We hope you'll tune in again. Until then, be well.